If you're going to the gym and your workouts feel random, like you're just making guesses every day, then this video is for you. What I want to do in this video is show you the 3 biggest signs that your workouts are random and then what to do about it. Because the first thing we need to understand is this. If your inputs are random, your outputs are also going to be random. In other words, if we're making random decisions as to what we're going to do for the exercises, what weight we're going to do, how many sets and reps we're going to do, how hard we want things to feel, then all your results that you're going to get are equally as random. So if we want more consistent results, then we have to have a consistent and structured way that we approach exercise. My name is Jonathan Orlando, and I created the Fitness Academy to teach you how to get consistent results without needing my help nor anybody else's help for the rest of your life. So the first sign that your workouts are random is that you're not following any kind of workout plan. Now, this doesn't mean you need to have some super perfect or super advanced programming in order to exercise consistently. All we really want is some type of structure that we're following, whether it's something that you put together yourself or something for free that you got off the internet. We just want some type of structure so we're not walking in every day having to make a bunch of choices as to what we're going to do in terms of the exercises, the sets, the reps, the weights, all of that stuff. It is much better to have some type of plan beforehand so that way we minimize the amount of decisions that we have to make in the moment. Because when we don't have any structure, everything becomes a decision. And when everything becomes a decision, it becomes really easy to make random ones. And that is exactly what we don't want to do. The second sign that your workouts are random is that you are just making random guesses as to how much weight you're going to do for each exercise. If you're just randomly picking weights with no real system behind it, it becomes incredibly difficult to tell what's actually working and what's not working. It becomes really hard to be able to know, is this actually hard enough for me to get better? Or is this too easy for me to get better? Or is it too hard? We don't know exactly where you're laying at. And if you're just making random guesses, it's really hard to have any type of structure as to what works and why it works and what doesn't work and why doesn't it work. And this is where a lot of people get stuck. They keep things way too easy for way too long. They're going to the gym consistently, but nothing that they're doing is actually hard enough to make any kind of noticeable progress, whether it's in strength or muscle gain or anything like that. And it's not always because people are lazy or they don't want to do something that's hard. And it's more so along the lines of that sometimes people just don't know what hard is actually supposed to feel like. And then 2, they don't have any type of system in place to help decide what weights would be hard enough for them. And the thing is, it's different for everybody. Everyone has a different starting point, so the weights required for you is likely going to be different for someone else. And we just need to have some type of system to help figure out what those weights should be for you. So what people end up doing is that they just guess what weights they should use. And when people are just guessing all the time, it just becomes very unreliable. And again, hard to tell what's working and why it's working. And then the third sign for why your workouts might be random is that you just are not keeping track of anything that you're doing. We're not keeping any kind of log. We're not writing stuff down. We're not keeping track of the weights that we're doing, how many we're doing, how hard it felt when you did it. All of these different pieces of information that can be super useful for making decisions off of. At that point, you're basically just relying off of memory, vibes, and hoping that you're doing the right thing. And it does not need to be like that. We don't need to just go off of vibes or go off of whatever you feel like doing. We can make all our decisions based upon what we've done in the past, but that requires that we keep track of what it is that we're doing. We're keeping track of all the exercises, all the weights, all the sets, how hard it felt, everything that we need to know, so that way when we come to the same exercise the following week, we can look back at what we did last time and have a very clear a foundation for where we're going to start off of, as opposed to coming in every single week with essentially a blank slate and then either having to remember what you did last time or just making brand new guesses on that new day. So instead, we don't want to do that. What we want is to make educated decisions based off of all the information that we have available to us. So, what is the solution? Well, very simply, the solution would just be to do the opposite of all of those issues that we just brought up. So instead of going into the gym with no plan whatsoever, we'll have some type of plan to follow. Again, whether it's just something that you put together for yourself really quickly, just the exercises that you like, or that you found some program off the internet for free and you can use that to follow. It does not matter, especially in the very beginning. It does not matter how good the program is, just the fact that we have something that we're following. Then the second one, we want to stop making random decisions when it comes to how much weight we're going to do. Instead of arbitrarily choosing the weight on every single set of every single exercise of every single day, base your decisions off of what we did last time. But not only what we did last time, but also how things are feeling today, because you are a human being and your performance will vary on a day-to-day basis. One day things will go really well and everything feels super light and we can increase the weight. And then the very next day, everything is feeling super hard and heavy and we should probably reduce the weight. We have to match the weight to where you are on the day, not match yourself to the weight that you're trying to hit. It does not work that way. We cannot just chase numbers. We want a situation where the numbers are chasing us. So we need a way to adjust our programming or our workouts on a day-to-day basis without turning the whole thing into one big guessing game. So we aren't trying to remove decision making as a whole, but we are trying to make educated decisions based upon what we've done in the past, which brings us right into the third fix. Instead of not writing anything down and not keeping track of anything that we're doing, we want to keep track of everything that we do. We want to keep track of the weights, the reps, the sets, how hard it was, all of these different factors, because when we actually keep track of these things, it gives us a whole bunch of information that we can now use to make our decisions off of. So in this way, we are no longer making random decisions. We're making educated decisions based upon what we've done in the past. And then once we have a very clear log of weeks and weeks and months, we can also start seeing patterns as to what ends up working for you, what things tend to get you to make progress, and what things tend to not get you to make progress. When it comes to exercising, it really is one big game of trial and error, because all of this stuff is going to work a little bit differently for you, a little bit differently for me, and a little bit differently for everybody else out there in the world. So we don't know how or why or what before we actually start doing it. So if we keep track of stuff, then we can start to find out exactly what works for you and why it works for you. So those are the 3 signs that your workouts are random, and some tips on how to alleviate that. Now, it does not need to be very complicated, especially in the beginning. The simpler, the better. And this is the exact way that I do my own workouts and the way that I teach other people how to manage their own workouts. And it all comes back to having a structured way of making all these decisions. So if you want to learn more about all the skills and all the decision-making skills that someone needs to know in order to be completely independent in the gym for yourself, by yourself, for the rest of your life, click the link in the description below, and that'll take you to the Skills to Independence webinar, where I go over what all the skills are that someone needs to be independent, as well as a deep dive into the first and most important skill that everyone needs to know in order to exercise confidently by yourself forever. Also, comment below about how you usually make decisions when it comes to the gym, whether you follow some type of plan or if you just make random guesses. And then also, what do you tend to struggle with the most when it comes to exercising in the gym? And make sure to subscribe because I'm going to be putting out a bunch of different videos on how we go about making all these types of decisions. What are the things that we really need to think about when it comes to exercising independently? If you've already been exercising consistently, how to make better decisions so you can get much more consistent results.